you know what? I'm going to go off stage. First, if we can get some business out of the way for you to say good morning to my brother Hank. So all you say is good morning, Hank. It's Tuesday. I know that it's not Tuesday, but it will be. And he sees this. So on three, ready, one. Wait, I gotta back up a little. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning, Hank. It's Tuesday.
Excellent work. I set this book partly in Amsterdam because in the American romantic imagination, Amsterdam and Paris are the two cities where it's super romantic to kiss a girl. That's the first reason. But while I was in Amsterdam, I was really sick, as it happens. I was sort of sick in two ways. The first way is that I was suffering, although I didn't quite understand it at the time, from this crushing anxiety about this book. I was here basically to finish the book, to write the last big revision, and it was a very big revision. The last 50 pages of the book basically were written from scratch here. Much of the Amsterdam scenes were written here. A lot of the stuff early in the book was written here. And I knew that this was my last chance to make this book good, and I felt a lot of pressure, both because I only write a book like once every 4 years, so there's a lot at stake with each one, and because I was writing this book in a lot of ways inspired by a friend of mine named Esther, who died almost a year before we came to Amsterdam, and I felt this, what in retrospect was idiotic, this responsibility to her, as if there were any way that I could, tell a story that would somehow live up to her, or and that was completely impossible. And until I let go of the impossibility of that, I was pretty miserable. It is a very different country than the U.S. It's a very different place. It has different values, and I think transplanting that and being sick allowed me, for the first time, to have a better understanding of Hazel's day-to-day, minute-to-minute life, living with illness, feeling constantly other, feeling constantly separated from her peers, because she was never going to be fully integrated into the social order of her world, because she was always going to be carrying around an oxygen tank, which is always going to be the first thing that you notice about her, just as I was never going to be fully integrated into Dutch culture due to my failure to pronounce spell correctly. So I couldn't do anything as simple as order at a restaurant without the waitress or waiter answering back to me in English, because they didn't want to waste time trying to translate my Dutch. So I think that was really helpful. And the last thing that I would say is that the Dutch Nerdfighter community was, I don't think that this book, I know this book wouldn't have been the same, but I don't think that it would have even been finished if it hadn't been for the Dutch Nerdfighter community, because in this terrible time, and it was really, really a hard time, I don't want to understate it. I know sometimes people try to ignore or downplay both physical and mental or emotional illnesses, but it was a really hard 2 months for me trying to finish this book. And if I hadn't had the gift of being able to go around the Netherlands and Belgium and meet Nerdfighters and spend time with you guys, I don't know if I would have been bolstered enough to finish it. I did so much writing on those train trips home, at least for the ones where you weren't on the train with me. And I did so much writing on the way to those gatherings. And I think, being able to know, being able to feel that support allowed me to feel integrated enough to be able to write instead of being like completely paralyzed, freaked out. So I'm very grateful to you for that. There are a lot of people in this room who I've known for a long time. Ning Master Tom, who basically founded and ran the fan-run website at the Ning, and still is heavily involved in it. The girls from Best Wishes from NL, who were some of the first people ever to give me anything. It was a very strange experience. They gave me these wooden shoes with all these catchphrases on them, and I was like, what do I do with this? And I took them home, and I still treasured them. And in those, but lots of personal friends, but also lots of people who came to Nerdfighter gatherings that happened in the Netherlands and in Belgium during those months that I was here. So it's not an exaggeration to say that this book is not just in some ways a product of Amsterdam, but it's a product of the Dutch part of our community that's always been so strong and so important to me. So I'm very grateful for that. When I wrote Lidewij, Vliegenthart, it's my favorite name ever because I stole names from two of my Dutch friends. Flagrantly stole them both. And I mean, I have to tell you, when I'm asked about the character of Lidewij in America, I am 100% of the time asked about the character of Lidewij. So I'm happy to talk about that. I thought, after 2 months in the Netherlands, you can't go and make like broad anthropological or sociological conclusions about Dutch people, except that they are not good waiters. Are there any waiters here?
Used to be, but no.
Yeah, I mean, you were terrible at your job. I don't know if it's because like tipping isn't part of the culture or what. I should say it's really specific to Amsterdam, but it is like an epidemic. I don't want to steal from you, but you won't tell me how much this beer costs. I didn't want to make like broad generalizations that like Dutch people are fundamentally like different from Americans, because I don't think that's true really. I mean, I think they're pretty subtle differences. But I did want Lidewij to be someone who is extremely, not you Lidewij, who's extremely loyal to her, to Peter, and really believes in the value of her work, and B, just in the importance of doing a good job, even if he's a jerk. This is her job. She feels a responsibility to do it well, but she's also a little bit subversive. And that's very different, I think, from an American approach to having a job that you hate, which is where you like pee on the person's towels or something. So that was, I did try to capture that in her, and also her desire to save the day, like her unwillingness to give up on the day. The question was, did I have a theory for how to render the English dialogue of the people who speak Dutch as their first language, and I did, yeah. But it was mostly from listening and ear, and then also I had all these sound recordings of creepy sound recordings of Dutch people having usually at the library, because like if you're gonna sit by me and talk, that's your punishment. Dutch people use the adjective nice a lot when they're speaking in English, at least in my experience. And in fact, when Sarah and I went home from Holland for like 2 months, people would be like, why is everything nice? I mean, the question is, why is Amsterdam semi-idyllic? Yeah, like they have this ridiculous, I said earlier, those of you who missed it, that the most unrealistic thing about the portrayal of Amsterdam is that at that restaurant they have an attentive waiter. I wanted, when you come, look, they are not Dutch people, and they are not residents of Amsterdam. They are two kids who come, two American kids who come to this place with an idealized image in their mind of both the place and this author. And the image of the author is obviously shattered. The image of the place isn't so much, and I wanted to give them that. I think that people go in and idealize a place and generally walk out of it 3 days later still idealizing it. Now if you stay there for a year or even a few months, you start to see a place more complexly and all that. But you go out to if your entire experience of Amsterdam is a really nice meal on a canal, making out at the Anne Frank house, losing your virginity, and drinking really good coffee, then yeah, you're gonna be like, that place was great. So yeah, I think that's why I wanted it to be kind of an idealized image of Amsterdam, but still hopefully within the realm of accuracy, like the things that hopefully you love about Amsterdam are the things that are sort of heightened by their experience. So every spring, a gajillion flowers fall out of the freaking sky for you, and they get swept up in the air, and they form these abstract patterns, and they blow through the air, and then they land in the canals, and they fill the canals with freaking flowers, and you guys are all like, eh. They're pretty sticky. They're really getting everything. You know, like, what an astonishing fact that the world gives us flowers every spring that literally fall out of the sky. And so if we can take the time to notice that, if we can take the time to observe that, I think it can focus us in a way that ends up being a lot more helpful in terms of thinking about how we're going to take care of each other and how we're going to take care of the people who come after us and how we're going to honor the people who came before us.
It's not that shirt.
Oh! Have you guys seen those shirts?
Yeah. Yes.
They're amazing!
When you open it, it opens his mouth.
Wow.
I thought you might like this one.
That's
as
also
well.
very good. But I thought I was going to be able to be Dirt Cat for a minute. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you.
What is your favorite moment from the time you spent in Amsterdam?
My favorite? Oh gosh, that's so hard. I mean, the other thing to remember is that, like, in addition to this is really great. Thank you. In addition to all that writing, I was here with my family, and by far the greatest pleasure of that time was just being with my 1-year-old son in this very different place, and where we lived was right above the I'll tell you now. Was right above the Athenaeum bookstore, and he could stand on this little miniature chair and look and see the trams coming all day long, and basically his first word was hi and his second word was tram. And he just loved the tram so much, and it's such a privilege to sort of see the world through his eyes.
Do you read your own books after you finish with them?
Do I read my books after I finish with them? No. No, I don't. No, because I don't. It's not mine anymore, and I can't do anything about it anymore, and it's a very frustrating experience to read it. Like, I had to read Paper Towns because I had to write a screenplay for it, and that was a very unpleasant experience on every level. Because obviously, I mean, I think this is true for all writers, but every day that you're writing, you're running up against the limit of your talent, and you want to be able to do stuff that you just can't, you don't know how to do, you don't know how to use language to accomplish what you want to accomplish, and that's kind of thrilling when you're writing, but then when you're reading something that's finished, you're just horrified. So, yeah, I work very hard on it until the day they tell me that I can't do anything else and the text is locked, and then I stop. And I'm also very grateful for my adult readers, I mean, and a lot of, like, Lidewij, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Right, so Lidewij's an adult now, but I don't want her to like my books like she did 5 years ago, like I don't want her to stop liking them because she's getting older. So, I mean, ideally my books will be, Marcus Zusak said this once, and at the time I kind of disagreed with him, but I've come around to his position. He said, my goal is not to write a book that sits on the young adult shelf, or the children's shelf, or the adult shelf. My goal is to write a book that sits on that shelf that you have in your home library of books you really like. Hi. Okay, I think I can spell that. Are you American?
Yeah, I got my English class assignment 2 days before I came here.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Are you enjoying your stay?
Oh my god.
Good.
Don't even get me started.
Awesome. Hi.
My name is hard to spell. It's S-H-E-N-A-N.